What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Friday. Well, hopefully you're listening to this on Friday. If not, if you're already into the weekend, happy weekend. I hope you guys are having a good weekend, or you guys are looking forward to your weekend. I know some buddies want to play some Helldivers tonight. I am very excited for that. But yeah, today we're going to talk about the Conquest data disk for Volume 19. And this is the Conquest used to unlock Smee, who we now know is going to be part of a pirate faction, which is going to be part of a new raid team, which we've already talked about in another video. But yeah, this is the one I think a lot of people are suddenly more invested in now that we have to use pirates for the upcoming raid. Yeah, that's a whole can of worms. But today's video is going to be covering the data disc that we have for this Conquest. We've talked in previous videos about the teams to use, how things are going there, what teams you want to focus on. Today's going to be about the data disk because we don't know that information beforehand. We don't know what data disks are involved within Conquest until we start playing and we see what we have there. So I'm going to go through the collection of what I have, some other data disks I've seen as I've played, some other ones I've seen from other guild members. We're going to break that all down. We're going to talk about different combinations and what, some really good stacking offense Trinity discs, as well as some really nice ones that help with survivability. Because some of these feats require characters to survive that you probably don't have built up. Like, for instance, the mid-boss in Sector 3 requires to have a Mega Fugitive survive to get to 2 key cards. So yeah, that's not ideal for a lot of people out there. Yeah, I don't think a lot of people have that character built up. In fact, it feels like the whole new Bad Batch has to survive in one feat or another. Now, for me personally, this Conquest feels like it's been pretty easy, but I have a built-up Bad Batch. But even then, these feats are just a breeze, man. I'm just tearing through them, and I feel like this is my easiest Conquest yet. It's grindy, but I'm not really sweating it, and I'm just kind of tearing through these and getting these feats done in no time at all, just because there's some really nice overlap with them. We've talked about that in different videos. Stagger and crit damage down, some really nice overlap with that, with Basilishan Fallen. Leia Organa can do that as well. There's a lot of characters that can get you a lot of these debuffs at once, and then, yeah, these feats feel easy to me. Now, they're not going to be easy to everybody. They are grindy, and that's part of the issue too. Like, for instance, Sector 1, I can't do the defeat 20 battles with full squads of Spectre because my Spectre is just not built up. But anyways, I'm getting off track here. Let's talk about the data discs and what we're seeing with them. And I'm going to kind of show you the collection of what I have right now. And I'm also going to show you some other ones that we've seen through guild members and what they've had. And the one thing to point out with Weak Spot and Weak Point gives you 4% offense per debuff on all characters whenever an ally attacks. It does not seem like Weak Point is here, but Weak Spot does seem to be here, which is perfectly fine. That's still 2% offense. Not going to stack as crazily high as quickly, but Weak Spot's still pretty good. That's a lot of debuffs. That's a lot of offense for debuffs. When you run a team like Inquisitors, and there's some Amplify Agony down here as well, Inquisitors throw out a lot of Purge. You have Seventh Sister assisting. Yeah, she's going to do a lot of damage with this one. So yeah, Weak Spot, still pretty much a meta choice. Protection Shield is one I'm running right now, where we get allies recovering protection. We got Assertive Command, where allies are using a basic ability on their turn. They're calling allies to assist. That's different from what I believe was called Perseverance, where anytime you attacked, you had an ally that could assist. This is like a nerf version of it, where they're using a basic, but it's still got some nice synergy here. You can use this with Weak Spot with assisting, get some stacking offense on your characters. Solid Intel for me has been really, really good this round. Whenever an ally is critically hit, they gain X% amount of turn meter based on the rarity of the disc. They also gain advantage, crit chance up, and crit damage up. And then I'm running stacking offense, where they gain a buff, they gain stacking offense as well. You can kind of see what I'm going for with some of these. Now, some other ones to see, we got the purple disc here so far. I've seen War of Attrition. Wherever a debuff expires on an enemy, all allies do 4% turn meter. We saw that last season. That was part of the global feats. It's back as one you can get here. Second Win, the first time each ally is defeated, they're revived with 50% health and protection. That's high capacity, not really reliable. If you are able to revive a character and you need those feats, for instance, if you need Omega Fusion to survive on that Sector 3 mid-boss, and she dies towards the end, you have this, you can bring her back. That's cool, but man, that's a lot of disc capacity for just 50% health and protection. This one I feel like is not ideal. Obviously, Amplify Agony, we talked about that before. Max health damage whenever someone inflicts a debuff on an enemy. As far as I can tell, Volatile Accelerator, which went hand in hand with Amplify Agony, is not back. That really worked well with Amplify Agony. That is not here, but still Amplify Agony can be helpful on certain teams that do a lot of debuffs, like for instance Inquisitors, where they throw all those purges out at the start of the match. That's a lot of max health damage. You combine this with Weak Point. Is it Weak Point? Yeah, Weak Spot. I never get these straight. Yeah, Weak Spot is 2%, Weak Point is 4%. I'm gonna forget it again in this video, just an FYI. But yeah, Amplify Agony works really well with that Weak Spot, which I'm pretty sure I just said wrong again, but just bear with me on it. Yeah, so that works really well. The debuffs, stacking offense with that, whenever you're hitting an enemy with debuffs, that works really well. And max health and protection can be useful if you are running someone who's got low health and protection. You need to keep them surviving, like, again, Omega Fugitive and Mid-Boss 3. Yeah, that could be useful. Superior Discipline is one I have not seen before, where allied attackers can ignore taunt. If this was for everybody, I'd say this is probably better, but just attackers, that's not really great. Solid Intel, Protection Shield, defensive buffs is going to go hand in hand with some of the other ones here. That's going to be a nice trinity of discs that we'll talk about here in a moment. But yeah, allied units gain crit hit immunity, tenacity up, and defense up for 1 turn at the start of the turn. That's great. Amplify Agony again, stacking offense, and then Quickening. Now, apparently, someone told me that Quickening was bugged in the last Conquest, where the speed gain with this was significantly higher than what it was supposed to be, like something like 10% higher, or 10 times higher. Which seems a little absurd. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm taking that with a grain of salt. But if it is true, that may explain why Conquest last season also felt really easy. Because I think I did run some of these at some point, and I was like, oh yeah, this speed's great. And apparently I just wasn't paying attention. Yeah, we turned my whole team into Sonic, apparently. But yeah, this is here again. 8 speed and 5.5% evasion bonus, depending on what quality of your disc here. There's nothing involving evasions, so Quickening automatically kind of falls down a tier. There was that one Conquest where you had to evade attacks, and you would just stack Quickening for that and just kind of go for it. And, you know, just use that with Foresight, just kind of quickly go through those feats. But there's nothing like that here. 8% speed in the long run's not a big deal. You got to stack quite a few of these on here to really get that speed going. And, you know, if they gave turn meter bonus on evasion, I could see this be even better. But right now, not really feeling that. So what am I running, and what do I think is a really good trinity? So yeah, you've already seen I'm running Weak Spot, I'm running Protection Shield. I've got 2 sets here, so I'm getting 20% protection whenever an ally is critically hit. That's just kind of helping keep my team survive. But then also whenever I'm critically hit, I gain 12% turn meter, advantage, crit chance up, and crit damage up for 2 turns. So I'm healing protection back, I'm gaining turn meter, and I'm gaining buffs, which then runs in tandem with stacking offense, where I'm getting that stacking offense as I'm gaining those buffs too. So I'm healing protection, I'm gaining turn meter, and I'm stacking my offense at the same time. Now you can run 2 stacking offenses, so you run like 8%, or I believe like blue is 8%. You get like an 8% stacking offense. You run like, yeah, so it's gonna stack up nicely, especially if you run some solid intel. You run that defensive buffs, where you're getting these defensive buffs at the start of your turn. That's all really, really good. Like, that's a nice trinity, because you get critically hit, you gain buffs, which gives you stacking offense. Then once your turn moves and you've gained that turn meter from being critically hit, well, now you've gotten more buffs, which means more offense. So all 3 of those, I think, are going to be a really good trinity, are going to form the core of a lot of different mod disc loadouts. It's just really, really good. Like, just a lot of buffs, a lot of stacking offense with that. Throw on some extra stacking offense discs if you need it. Yeah, that's going to be really good. I like that. The other ones here, Protection Shield as well, kind of helps negate the damage you're taking from being critically hit. So yeah, you get those 4, and now suddenly you're healing back the protection that you lost from being critically hit. That's great. Now, Assertive Command and Weak Spot can both work really well, especially when you've got Amplify Agony going on as well, where you're dealing max health damage to them as they get hit with debuffs. And now you use the Assertive Command, you use a basic, and then someone else assists, and now they're getting stacking offense. Again, like with Inquisitors, you get all those purges on the enemy team, use a basic 7 sister assists, someone else is going to assist at the same time. That's 2 different assists. That's a lot of stacking offense on those characters just because of weak spot. That's all going to be really, really freaking good. Yeah, there's some nice combos that we're seeing here with these, that the solid intel and the stacking buffs and stacking offense. Amplify Agony is always really good with heavy debuff teams. Not having Volatile Accelerator, not ideal, but you know, you're still going to get some nice use with this, especially with those debuff heavy teams. And we've got some here. We've got to inflict damage over time like 300 times. So using Lord Vader or Darth Vader, you're stacking those dots on the enemy team. That's some pretty good damage with that too. Yeah, there's some good combinations here with these, and this is not all of the data discs we've seen yet either. We've still got more out there. Like for instance, there's the Booming Voice, where Booming Voice, if you, defeat enemies with, win with full squad of light side Ufu. Yeah, whenever the ally you're in the leader slot uses an ability during their turn, all other allies are called to assist. So you got that, you're running some weak spot with that too. That could get really nasty, especially if you, man, yeah, just going back to Inquisitors again. Yeah, you throw Grand Inquisitor in there, and you know what? Just say, you know what? I'm going to put him as the lead for that Grand Inquisitor team with that weak spot and with Booming Voice. Everybody assists. Everybody gets just absolutely jacked in terms of stacking offense. Like, that's going to be cool. I love that. That's going to be a really good one. That's high disc capacity, but hey, you know what? Mass assist every time the leader uses their ability. That's great, especially if you're using Galactic Legends. Yeah, that's going to be a lot of assist. Especially like Supreme Leader Kylo Ren using Darkside Vision Ray, where the turn meters constantly reset every time an enemy is defeated. Supreme Leader is pretty much going to be the fastest character on the whole field. He's just going over and over again. You're just wiping out teams. Your Booming Voice is calling mass assists. You're just wiping out, stacking offense, stacking buffs. Man, that's going to be pretty good. Yeah, so there's some really good combinations on there, and we haven't even mentioned all of them yet. There's a couple more that I've seen that I don't know if they're gonna be any good, but maybe as we see more data discs, we'll get an idea. Like one I've seen is Volatile Hyper Accelerator. When an ally deals damage to an enemy, that enemy gains 5% speed, and at the start of each enemy turn, that enemy takes 10% max health damage. I could see that being good against a team that's just absolutely cracked in terms of turn meter. For instance, I don't know if it's just me, but JTR teams, Jedi Training Ray teams, seem absolutely cracked this round, where they are just kicking my butt. And I don't know, I don't remember them being this strong before. Maybe the global modifier on them changed, but man, they giving me nightmares. Let's see if I can find one for you guys. Yeah, this Fearless Fortitude, they're constantly gaining buffs and turn meter and crit damage, and it's just like, oh my god, they just don't stop moving, and it drives me nuts. So you can use that to your advantage against this type of team, as well as the final node here in Sector 4, those Geonosians, which once again have like malicious minions and just stupid amounts of speed. Yeah, that could kind of help against those teams, but you got to get damage on them first, and that I think is the weird part, where you got to get damage on them before they can start taking max health damage. So yeah, when you're already outsped by a team that's just not letting you take turns before you, and maybe eventually you get to a good turn, yeah, that can be a problem. That's where the solid intel can come into play with Volatile Hyper Accelerator. You get that solid intel, and as you're gaining critical hits, or as you're getting critically hit, you're gaining that turn meter. So eventually your character is going to move. At that point, you can hit them and use Volatile Hyper Accelerator. That's something that could work. There's also Ability Exhaust, which we've seen plenty of times before. 10 debuffs, then applies Ability Block. There's also Ruthless Debilitation, and I think I've seen Ruthless Offense as well in here. Both those involve enemies falling below 100% health. Debilitation applies heal immunity and 2 stacks of Armor Shred. So that can help with, say, debuffs on the enemy team, and you can use that in conjunction with a weak spot if you want to. But yeah, I think as it stands right now, the combination of, you know, gaining buffs from critically hit, getting the stacking offense when you gain buffs, healing protection as you're critically hit, and then throwing in that extra buffs at the start of your turn, those defensive buffs, which I can't even remember now. There it is. Yeah, defensive buffs. That's a nice combination. I really like that. I may just go ahead and take weak spot off and just kind of run this instead. Maybe I'll grab another. I think I have another stacking offense. I do. So I think what I may end up doing as I get more discs and kind of get my full idea of a loadout here, I'll probably take one of these protection shields off. I'll run 2 stacking offenses, I'll use that in conjunction with solid intel. I'll probably take off weak spot just because I've got plenty of buffs going around already, though weak spot's still pretty good. So I may take assertive, you know, I think I'm gonna take assertive command off. Yeah, it's good it's good at first, but you eventually gets outclassed. So I think at the end of the day, yeah, 2 stacking offense, solid intel. I'll get rid of a protection shield, and then, no, not that one. Where is it? Yeah, defensive buffs. So I'm gaining, it's all about those critical hits. I gain turn meter, I gain buffs, I heal back some protection, and then as I'm gaining those buffs, I'm getting just huge amounts of offense onto my characters. I think this is going to be my ideal loadout going into the rest of the Conquest season. It may change depending on what else we see, but this is just kind of early impressions. Once we've gone through the 2 weeks, we can get an idea of what else we have out there. But I feel like this loadout here that I've got with these 6 data discs, I feel like this is going to be a pretty good combination. I would love to hear from you guys. Have you guys run into other data discs as well? Let me know down below if you guys have enjoyed this video. Make sure that like button, subscribe to the channel. I will see you guys next time.